And I know a lot of people still don't realize it. They think like it's legitimate or real, or if they vote one way or another, something big's gonna change. No, not as long as this whole system's in place. It's a slavery system, and all they really did was because they used to have kings and queens, and they'd say, well, I have a certain bloodline, so I rule you now, and so you owe me money just for living. And people actually started figuring that out a few hundred years ago. And they started chopping some of their heads off. And so the same sort of people who are in basically control of the world, they've been in control of the world for a long time, probably since like Egypt and beyond that, even though I don't even believe anything that we're told about any of that stuff. But I know there was something there, right? The pyramids are real. I don't know what they're for. That's a whole other story. Probably electricity generation and communication, but that's a whole other story. But that's why they took the capstone off. Anyway, what was I talking about? Oh, how they kind of realized all these sort of people, right? The same sort of people. And they keep all these bloodlines going. Like even when you look into like presidents of the US, they're all related. It's amazing. It's all a big scam / fraud / slavery system that we're all still in. But most people don't know. And most people, like a lot of people in the US believe they live in the land of the free. It's hilarious. And they're like, oh, just go vote. And you know, I get it. Like some people like some things like Trump says. Yeah, I like some things he says too. Like especially when he says, you know, I'm gonna put Hillary in jail. I'm like, I like that. But then he doesn't. The first thing he said when he became president was, I would never do that. I'm good friends with the Clintons. Or, you know, if he says some anti-woke stuff, I'm like, yeah, I like that, because the woke stuff is insane and ridiculous and just communist and just unbelievable. But people actually think these people are going to help them in any sort of major way. And that's what we're seeing in all this stuff. So now you got, you know, some of the Republicans are fighting back against how bad the Democrats have been over the last few years. And that's how it works. And then people feel a little bit like, oh, good, like, yeah, they're fighting back. And then, oh no, we lost. Now these guys are enslaving us more. But the fact is, they're always enslaving you more. Have you ever noticed that? Like the US government, as an example, has just gotten more and more tyrannical and enslaving and extortion. Like they steal so much. And like, when did they ever remove rules? And remember Donald Trump, he came in and he was like, well, I'm gonna balance the budget, which was hilarious when he said that. Because it's actually impossible, especially with interest rates now. The US government's insolvent, basically. But he said before the election, he said, I'll balance the budget and pay off the debt, which is impossible unless you hyperinflate, which actually will happen. So he could have been telling the truth in a way. But what happened? He got in some of the biggest budget spending ever. And that was like the small government side, right? It just increases no matter who's in. Sad thing is that people don't really get it. And by the time they get it, it'll be too late for most people. They'll just be totally enslaved. They'll have nothing. That's what's going to happen to a lot of people in the US.